I don't know if it's Creation Club or some other outside factor, but it really seems like Fallout 4 modding has picked up as of late. Maybe it's all of these new paid releases inspiring mod authors to really stick it to Bethesda to show them that they can do a better job for free. Or maybe it's something totally unrelated, but hey, let's continue to push that narrative forward, right? Regardless, we have another episode of Fallout 4 Mods Weekly. Basically, this is a series where I show you guys the best releases for Fallout 4 each and every week, unless there were no best releases, in which case I probably won't release an episode, but that typically doesn't happen. So with that, I do have 9 mods to show you. 2 of these are going to be ported over. Starting things off, we do have Calamity Weathers. Basically, this is going to be a mod aiming to change the weather of Fallout 4 to be a bit more like the 2 Metro games, that being Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. The overall idea here is that Fallout 4 is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and the weather doesn't really represent that. It was a little bit too bright and happy for this mod author's taste, so basically what he did was dull things down a lot. Things are going to look grim now, not happy or kind of inspire you to go traverse the world. You're going to be afraid, and I think this really pairs well with either like a harder core survival mode or just any mods that really make the game a bit more difficult. Even further, again, it does also add in some more weather, so things like rad storms are made to just be a bit more powerful. It'll inflict more radiation damage to you, and the nights are a bit darker and spookier. I really feel like there's not many opinions to give on this. It looks cool. I'm obviously using Dust Bowl Overhaul also, so it doesn't necessarily mesh with that. It's obviously intended for kind of vanilla Fallout 4 or maybe something with a lot of dead trees. But if you guys like what you're seeing right now, if you're really trying to recreate that Metro feel, I definitely think this mod gets that right. It has a much more glum and not as bright or prosperous aesthetic when compared to vanilla Fallout 4, and although a few mods have done that in the past, I feel like this one actually is getting it pretty good. So we do have Equilibrium. This is a pretty cool mod. Basically, a lot of weapon mods or mod packs out there focus on adding in new weapons into the game. There's even entire mods trying to replace the vanilla weapons because of how unhappy a lot of people were with kind of the offerings that Fallout 4 did have. Probably a big part of why weapon mods are so big, and what this mod is going to do is rebalance a ton of the weapon mods in Fallout 4. Sometimes it's just a flat boost, like the double barrel shotgun is going to have an increased range and damage. Other times it's actually going to make modifications to some of the existing modifications to those guns. So like the minigun's going to have more damage, but the barrel types are kind of reconfigured, so some are more powerful, some have different pros and cons. I would really go and just read through a lot of the things. It also covers weapons from the DLCs, but I think this is a great mod to install in your game. It makes a lot of the vanilla weapons a lot more usable and more in line, I think, with some of their modded counterparts. Then we do have the Accelerator. This is a pretty highly anticipated weapon. Basically, it's going to be a new plasma energy weapon in Fallout 4. Up until last week, with the release of the WADs, plasma weapons and energy weapons as a whole really weren't all that well covered in modding. Well, over the past 2 weeks, we've been getting a ton of extremely high quality options in this category, and this is going to be one of them. This is going to be a gun that really takes advantage of the weapon customization system. I'm only showing you a few of the options you have as far as customization goes, but you can really take this from a pistol to more of a shotgun launcher to even a sniper or like an SMG as I'm using it. To actually kind of review the gun, it looks pretty good. It definitely is going to pass. It's probably on the level of quality as some of the other Fallout 4 vanilla weapons, but it's not a top tier quality weapon. There's going to be some other modded weapons that you'll notice have just cleaner animations, better textures, and the model's a little bit cleaner. But again, with that being said, it's definitely usable and passable. I wouldn't even say that's a huge issue with the gun. It's just something I noticed when using it. It does feature custom animations also, as I did mention. On the flip side, I actually think this gun gets the sound effects really right. They're very sci-fi themed, which I think is fitting for the overall aesthetic and what the gun actually is in a plasma blaster. All around, it's a great gun to download. How many plasma weapons do we even have? We have like some fission and fusion stuff out there, but otherwise plasma weapons are so scarce, and this one is really going to bring you a good platform. You could modify this gun into pretty much whatever you want it to be, which is really awesome to see, and all around just a great download that you should be using in your game. Then we do have the Cross Break Action Laser. This was a hugely anticipated mod by me and many others, and it lived up to the hype. It's more or less going to be a new laser weapon that actually breaks in the center. Most of the gun is going to be themed around that simple fact, basically going to be a laser variant of most of the ballistic break actions you'll see. So in other words, there's going to be 3 major things here. There's going to be a sniper, which is meant to be like a really heavy duty sniper. You only get 2 shots, but each of those shots do a massive amount of damage. Then you have a grenade launcher, and finally a shotgun. And that's largely the gun. There's a few other modifications here and there, but those are the kind of 3 main components. You have like 3 stocks as well as a few different scopes, which look really cool, especially those hollow scopes that you can see me using. They kind of appear out of the little sight there. Even further, there's a ton of options as far as paint jobs go. You could actually download some extra ones for free, as well as it prompts you to donate, which I did do. I recommend you guys do also, because this is a really cool weapon. And then obviously the animations are going to be one of the most notable parts here. They're done extremely well. There's definitely no issues there. I mean, the third person ones are a bit glitchy, but honestly, who plays in third person anyway? Cue a bunch of comments about people that play in third person, but regardless, it's a ton of fun to use. The gun's relatively simple, it's definitely not as large scale as something like the Watts, but what it does really right, and it's definitely a very unique and different energy weapon when compared to even some of the existing stuff we have. So this is a pretty cool mod. Basically, the best of the ultra high resolution DLC is going to handpick some of the actually good textures from that DLC and basically package them all together into a nice 6GB file. If you guys don't remember, about, I don't know, 6 or more months ago, Bethesda released this new DLC for PC users only, the ultra high resolution DLC. It was a massive 58GB file that really didn't have a bunch of differences. Using it in game, I did like a comparison video and you couldn't notice that big of kind of an improvement there. This is due to the fact that a lot of the file size was dedicated to either stretching files, so taking the original 1080p texture and just stretching it to be 4K, and then even further, things like bullets got massive textures put on them which take up a lot of file size, but how close can you look at the bullets in Fallout 4? They didn't need things that large. So what this mod author did was handpick some of the things that actually made a difference and make some other changes on his own to basically give us something that is 6GB in size, but probably having a better effect and performance increase when compared to the 58GB file that Bethesda did give us. If you are using the texture pack right now, I would definitely download this. I've used it periodically here and there, but honestly the file size is just ridiculous. This is going to be a much more streamlined version while still holding a lot of the same improvements. So last week I showed you guys the mod knockout framework, basically allow you to knock NPCs unconscious without actually killing them. Well, now we do have non-lethal armory. This is going to kind of be a companion mod to the framework. What this is going to do is make it so a bunch of the blunt weapons in Fallout 4 will actually knock people out. So pretty much anything that doesn't have a serrated edge or kind of something big on the end that looks like it would kill someone, so like a baseball bat, a pipe with no modifications, but also there's actually a new non-lethal modification to the combat and double barrel shotgun. I personally think this is really cool. I really like this. Obviously, once you knock someone out, you have a few different options. You can loot them, you could wake them back up, or you could put them on your character and then kind of sell them later. I think the big problem with this mod, as I mentioned last time, is it's really cool. There's just a lack of practical implementations. Like there needs to be a black market where you could sell these bodies or something like that, or some reward of taking them prisoner, maybe having them as a slave, adding them as a new settler. I think that'd be a cool implementation, but all around it's still fun to use to kind of make enemies unconscious rather than just outright killing them and demonetized. So we do have the P220 animation Overhaul. If you guys don't know, the P220 is a pretty old weapon now by Millennia. Basically, he made this weapon a while ago, and it was a really high quality pistol. I actually think it is still a really high quality pistol. Well, what this is going to do is add in a few new things to that. 2 new equip and reload animations, depending if you have the attachment mount on it or not, as well as a new sighted animation position. So when you're aiming with this, you could probably tell it's just held very differently, much more realistic. That's a common theme among this whole mod. Nearly all these animations, ranging from running to equipping and de-equipping, are much more realistic. It's what you'd probably see with a real-world weapon. And also some new material swaps. All around, again, this is actually a really refreshing mod. I didn't have super high expectations when downloading this, but after downloading it, it really is kind of nice to see what I would imagine is a real-world set of animations. Everything just feels super realistic, like how you would actually be managing a pistol or other firearm in real life. The animations aren't perfect. The mod author does mention how this is one of his first sets of animations, but they're definitely usable and honestly pretty high quality. There's a few issues here and there, but otherwise I had a ton of fun using these, and I'm honestly going to continue to use this gun, and it makes me want to use the P220 again, which I probably will, so you'll probably see it in further videos. So we have a super simple mod. Basically, the Fallout 3 assault rifle replacer is going to change the assault rifle in Fallout 4 to be the R91 released by Tainted that I did cover last week. Again, it's a super simple mod. Whenever you would have previously seen the assault rifle from Fallout 4, you'll now see the R91 instead. It is going to basically remove the assault rifle from the game. There's been a few other mods that do pretty much this exact thing, and I don't know, I honestly really enjoy this because I did not like the R91 quickly became one of my all-time favorite assault rifles for Fallout 4. It's not even because it's like the highest quality or most feature rich, it's just the things it does really well, like the animations. The gun looks awesome. So whether it's that or you just really have a strong nostalgia effect for this weapon, I would definitely download this. Again, it's going to be another mod, not for everyone, but it wasn't getting a ton of attention, and I think it deserves a little bit more. So then to cover some of the ported mods this week, we actually have a new upload of the defense gun. You might be like, hey, there's already a defense gun for Xbox One. Well, the difference here is the old one actually wasn't integrated into any of the level lists. You could craft the gun yourself, but otherwise there was no way to get it or see it appear on other enemies. Basically, this new variant is actually going to integrate it into shops as well as some of the different enemies in the game. That's the way this gun was originally intended to be used, and I honestly think it makes a pretty big difference, so I did want to cover it. And last but not least, we also have the port of the AKM assault rifle, another gun I showed you last week. This is going to be pretty similar to the AK-74M, but honestly, I think this is a little bit higher quality, and fortunately we have the choice to download both of them, so for that I definitely would. It also has kind of some interesting attachments and things like that that make this stand out. The scope it's using is really cool and really unique, so if you are on Xbox and you did miss this or you didn't see that it was released, I would definitely download this also, just to integrate it into the level list, have a little bit more variety in your game. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Again, it's been a pretty big week for modding. There's a lot of cool stuff, as well as a lot of cool ports for Xbox users. One thing I will note is actually a lot of mods that come out on Xbox this past week that were pretty high quality. It's been something that's kind of been slowing down for whatever reason. New releases aren't being concurrently released on Fallout 4 for PC and Xbox One, which is kind of understandable. I know a lot of mod authors like to bug test on PC and whatnot, but I still think it's nice to see things like the Accelerator, Equilibrium, and Calamity Weathers coming out on both platforms at the same time. As always, again, thank you guys for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.